Hi, everyone. First, thank you so much for coming and listening to my talk. I hope it's going to be helpful for whoever is here listening to it. My name is Isabel, and I've been with GROW, and I will tell you a little bit of my story of how I came to GROW and how I became a program worker. That is the paid role inside GROW is called program worker, but it's all peer support. So I will go from there. So as really good stories come, it starts a long time ago in a land far, far away, back in Brazil when I was, everything started from the very beginning. My parents separated, divorced when I was still a 6-month-old baby. So as you can imagine, from pregnancy, there was lots of fighting, and that baby that should be celebrated were actually received in an environment that was less than ideal. Then my mom moved away to another state. I would see my dad occasionally during school holidays, but most of the time he would be very absent. One of the things I remember a lot was in Brazil we have little presentations at school for Father's Day, and I would prepare for that Father's Day expecting him to come, and that would never happen. And when I became a teenager, a few times I would call him, Dad, school holidays are coming, I will come and visit you, and he would like, nah, I don't want you to come. And all those things started to create in me from such a very young age that feeling of being unworthy, of coming in the world in a wrong time and not having my space. It felt that I had to do everything for others to be able to get something back, that love back. I became a very good people pleaser, which in some ways was very beneficial because I had a really good group of friends and people around me. And I thought with myself, part of my self-thought was, I'm such a happy person because I would never show difficulty to anyone else. Until in my mid-20s, my dad died by suicide, and that for the first time put me in my first clinical depression. And I clearly needed help. My mom helped me to find psychologists and everything, did some treatment, felt better, decided to move to Australia, why not? And but then through my life, when my mom passed away, when I got sick, breakup of relationships, all those big changes in life got me back to a depressive state. But everything in my brain was like, no, I'm still the happy person. Something really bad is happening. So I need some help, fair enough. But in 2019, I came to one of the dreams of my life that was to become a mother. And instead of being the most beautiful time in my life, I was the most depressed ever. I got all the brain fuzz, I couldn't keep a conversation. One of the worst days, I remember looking at the drawer and being completely overwhelmed with the idea of finding which sock I should wear. Is there anything more useless than worrying about the sock? And there I was completely overwhelmed with such a small thing. My brain was just not working. In conversation with my GP at the time, she gave me a few things to read about major depression, and it finally clicked in my mind that my family had lots of mental health issues. And through my story I could see, actually, I don't need help just on my crisis. It's a lifelong journey that I need to go through, and I need more than that, more than crisis management. And I went through the internet and tried to find support groups, and that's where I came and found GROW online. One of the things that was very different was that to get to a psychiatrist, it took me 4 months and a lot of money. In GROW, I was there next week, and it's a free service. There is no referrals, there is no waiting lists. It's just easy. There is no time frame. As long as you are feeling that that's helpful, that you keep on going. We don't call us Grow a service. We say we are a community. We are a network of peer support groups. It started in Sydney 66 years ago, and now it grew all around Australia and some places abroad. And each group meets once a week, and the groups are 2 hours long. And we are a working group. We help each other to cope with our daily struggles. Some weeks we deal with things very deep. Sometimes it's the little things, but we are always helping each other, and there is no difference in power. Everyone is in the same level. It's peer work happening from so long ago when people didn't talk about peer work. And the other thing I think is really beautiful about the GROW program is about personal growth. So there is no time that you stop using, because we never stop growing. You know, we are always developing and becoming better people. And it's a grassroots program that everything, all the literature from GROW and everything that is evolving comes from what we call ourselves growers, people that come to the groups. Some of the lessons I've learned along the way, the first one is about personal value. So I am always a human person in equal value to every other person. That was like, what? I don't need to do everything to everyone else before thinking about myself. I'm always valuable. And I thought about that about others and never put that to myself. And the group was like very big as my first lesson that I had to learn that. And I'm like, wow, amazing. Some days I still forget about it and I still need to be reminded, but it's one of my big lessons. The other big lesson is my feelings will get better as my habits of thinking and acting get better. Before coming to GROW, I used to think, I'm feeling so terrible, I won't do anything. When I feel better, then I will do something. And one of the things that we say in GROW is I can compel my muscles and limbs to do the right and healthy things in spite of my feelings. So, okay, I'm feeling terrible. I can still wash the dishes. I can still play 10 minutes with my son, you know, and by the end of the day, by achieving those little things, I felt, oh, I still did something. And when it became months and a year later, I'm like, oh, actually, look how much I've achieved, even though I'm still depressed, you know, and it gave me back the power of I can do something about my condition. I can take care of myself, and with the support from that group that helps me when my mind is just going haywire. We have these 4 simple stabilizing questions when our mind is really going out of sorts and we are going in a loop on all the wrong things that could happen. That is, what exactly I'm worried about? So it brings the mind back to reality. How likely it is to happen. So if it's something that, you know, it's probably impossible that will really happen, okay, no need to worry about that anymore. How important is it? And then if it is important, it's likely. What can I do about that? And transform that in one step at a time. And the group, and this is what the group does together with the person feeling overwhelmed. So you are not left alone to do it. And the other basic thing that is lovely is settle for disorder in lesser things for the sake of order in greater things, and therefore be content to be discontent in many things. Life will never be perfect. There will always be things that won't go as we plan. And, you know, in the context of me being a mother, the house would explode almost every day. But, you know, I could get back and say, okay, my son is fed, he's clean, we have a house, we have, you know, okay, doesn't matter about the explosion. I can do that. So it's putting things into perspective and knowing that it will never be perfect. So that's okay to not be. So after I was in the group already for about 2 years, and even when I wasn't in crisis anymore, I was like, oh, should I keep going? And part of the GROW idea, it comes from that personal story and improving yourself, and is then getting back to our community and to the wider community as well. And I find that even on days that I didn't have any personal problem that I wanted to work with, by helping others that are sharing, I would be learning as well. So it's that row, that circle keeps on happening, you know. And one day I was just in the group, and the other program worker gave me a nudge and said, did you see there is an opening for the paid position? And I'm like, what? I think you should apply. I'm like, what? And it ended up that I did apply, and I did get the position. I've been working in the peer worker position for a little bit over a year now. And one of the things that at the beginning was a bit confusing was that I started being a worker. So I kind of lost my group as my group. And for a while, I didn't know what to do there. And my self-care went a little bit less good because I didn't have that weekly time to think about my mental health. That is one of the big benefits of having the weekly group. And then, and with support from my manager and everything, I've sorted another group that I go online, so it's not in my region, that is just my group as for me to be the same. But at the same time, what is our role as peer workers? It is about being a role model. It's about showing that life is not perfect. It's about showing that life will have ups and downs all the time. And how do we cope with that? So I keep on thinking when I'm in a group as a program worker, it's like, what is this group needing? And trying to reflect, if I'm uncomfortable with something, is that my own issue coming about? Or it's something that I'm like, oh, actually, I can reflect from my experience, and that will be very beneficial for the group. I think it's a little bit of a separation there in the relationship with both psychiatrists and psychologists, that self-disclosure is really not an okay thing in those environments. While in peer work, our story is so valuable, and all the research shows how much that is important. So one thing I say is, GROW is good for anyone. It's good for the people that we are supporting. It's good for ourselves because it's that constant improvement happening. I forgot, Paula was presenting how, keeping our mind straight is so important for ourselves, for our families, for the people we are working with. So as we are, in an age of evidence-based practice, some of the outcomes in general, GROW does an yearly survey with the growers, and some of the numbers are really beautiful. One of them is that 96% of the respondents would suggest GROW to someone else because it's so helpful. And another number that I think is so beautiful is that 91% of the respondents said GROW helps them to collaborate well with their team. So it's not, you come to GROW and you don't need to go to the psychologist, or you go to the psychologist and take medication, you don't need to, No, every people's stories are complex, and their solutions are complex. And the solutions is not about one individual doing something. It's about creating that community. It's creating that support system. And then in my personal life, what I say is one outcome. I've been dealing with my own separation, and for the first time in my life, I'm having a big crisis and changing in my personal life, and I'm not clinically depressed. And that is such a big achievement, in my view. And, you know, many days I still wake up saying, I don't want to do anything, just want to hide in my blankets. And I'm like, okay, I can still move my muscles. What is the next step? And I'm doing it. Not perfectly, but it's happening. And what I say, it's the gift, is that I can enjoy my son. When I was really depressed, I saw that my emotional connection with him was suffering quite a lot, and that broke me. And now I can enjoy him. I can enjoy the little things. When things are exploding, I'm like, 10 minutes playing without thinking about anything else. And that has no price. So I've learned to live a life with purpose, not in spite of my story, but because of it. And I hope everyone here can have that feeling in working as a peer worker. Thank you.